Now, apologies in advance because it was going to be an otherwise quiet week for us on the whole Elon Musk front.
God damn it.
But he is now at the center of what could be the wildest social experiment that we've seen in recent memory, thanks to a recent report regarding a completely isolated Amazonian tribe suddenly getting full access to the internet thanks to Musk's Starlink satellite ISP.
Oh, no.
And so a lot of this, not entirely his fault, but he is the one who founded this company and sent all those satellites into space, cluttering up our atmosphere. So what does happen when you give a tribe that is willingly cut off from the rest of the modern world access to phones and the internet? Basically our own history, our own timeline, but in fast forward, with the consensus being that while it is great for very specific reasons, the social implications seem pretty dire, and access has led to members of the tribe frequently getting into arguments with each other online, general trust dwindling, family members feeling detached, some members spending a decent amount of time checking out a little porn-a-rooney, and what appears to be an apathy towards doing anything but sitting on their phone, which has caused the tribe to start limiting the hours that the service is even turned on.
This is a disaster. After, look around, like, look what fucking cell phones have done to our society. And you're like, you know what? We should impose this on a people who've managed to successfully avoid all of it.
Now, yeah, it hasn't gotten to this, and I don't think it can because it's not the same thing, but it is slightly eerily reminiscent of when Facebook provided internet and phones to Myanmar.
Well, that was a extra fucked up situation.
Yeah, but like, hey, wouldn't it be great if everyone had access to the internet?
Nothing bad has ever happened by giving people more access to the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. So this whole thing with the Starlink and the isolated tribes, it's all happening as a result of a partnership with two of the world's biggest assholes, Elon Musk and Jair Bolsonaro, who was president of Brazil at the time of the partnership and helped to facilitate the relationship and deployment of the receivers, notably during an event where the two were promoting the fact that they were connecting the Amazon, which has since resulted in a reported 66,000 contracts in the region. The indigenous tribe at the center of this story are the Marubo people who reside within the Amazon rainforest and hadn't even been in contact with the outside world until the 19th century. And until recently, they were still very isolated, having to travel at least 50 miles to the closest city in order to interact with the modern world. That all changed when one member, a damn millennial, having split time between the city and the rainforest, decided it was time for his tribe to get fully connected.
He was coming back and he was like, I've seen things you wouldn't believe.
Millennials have killed Amazonian tribes.
Mm-hmm. Now look, we're not going to say that there are no benefits to giving an otherwise disconnected tribe access to the internet all of a sudden, because the internet can be used in an extremely positive way if users want to use it that way. Having the entirety of human knowledge at your fingertips is incredibly powerful. But once you've had it, it's also nearly impossible to avoid the dopamine rush of arguing with people, playing video games, accessing a truly endless amount of entertainment, and of course, cranking your hog. So we're not saying this is all bad. We're just saying that the internet can, and has in many cases, had an extremely negative effect on society. Do the negatives outweigh the positives? We're not entirely sure. I mean, we're coming to you from the internet. You're watching on the internet. There's a lot of good stuff on the internet, a lot of horrific stuff on the internet.
I feel like it's mostly bad, increasingly so.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a little weird to see an otherwise isolated group of people fall into exactly the same habits as everyone else once they're handed a phone with internet access. But let's start with how exactly the internet came to the Marobu people. And please head to the link down in the description below. Read the full New York Times article because it is fascinating.
First, the millennial tribesmen who wanted to get everyone connected. One Marubo leader, Enoki Marubo, all Marubo use the same surname, 40, said he immediately saw Starlink's potential. After spending years outside the forest, he said he believed the internet could give his people new autonomy. With it, they could communicate better, inform themselves, and tell their own stories. Enoki emerged as a leader of the next generation, eager to pull his tribe into the future. Enoki has split his life between the forest and the city, working at one point as a graphic designer for Coca-Cola.
Okay.
Oh, cool. So when Marubo leaders became interested in getting internet connections, they went to him to ask how. Enoki got his answer when Mr. Musk came to Brazil. In 2022, the SpaceX owner and Jair Bolsonaro, Brazil's president at the time, announced Starlink's arrival in front of a screen that said, "Connecting the Amazon."
Last year, he and a Brazilian activist recorded a 50-second video seeking help getting Starlink from potential benefactors. He wore his traditional Marabu headdress and sat in the maloca. A toddler wearing a necklace of animal teeth sat nearby. They sent it off. Days later, they heard back from a woman in Oklahoma.
Oh, good.
And okay, it does get pretty interesting right out of the gate here because the woman who got in contact with the tribe, Allison Renew, is the same woman who claimed to have saved that girls' robotics team from the Taliban, only for that team to put out a statement, please asking her to stop taking credit for their rescue.
Interesting. Is she an evangelical Christian trying to convert people around the world?
I don't think it's that, but that would make sense.
That would be because, like,
I think she's just one of those types that's like, I want to help anyone who asks me, as long as they're not from my own community.
Yeah, fuck those people.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it is, I would have guessed evangelicals would be all about this because...
yeah, they download the Bible app.
For them, like, these, like, isolated tribes, it's like rare Pokemons.
Mm-hmm. They gotta go there and convert.
Yeah, if you get there first, God gives you a bigger...
They haven't heard of the horrors yet. Yeah. Yeah, also, since it just makes total sense, of course this woman is a landlord alongside about a dozen other jobs like chief executive, pilot, equestrian, humanitarian, etc.
That's a lot of jobs.
You get the picture. Inoke, alongside another activist named Flora Dutra, found her info after seeing photos of Renew at SpaceX HQ. They made the video asking for help, and Renew donated the cash and acquired the satellite receivers to connect the tribe. And back to the article.
The internet arrived on the backs of men. They trudged miles through the forest, barefoot or in flip-flops, carrying 2 antennas each. Just behind were Inoke, Ms. Dutra, Ms. Renault, and a cameraman documenting her journey. In the villages, they nailed the antennas to the tops of poles and plugged them into solar panels. The antennas then began connecting Starlink satellites to villagers' phones. Some Marubo already had phones, often bought with government welfare checks, to take photographs and communicate when in a city. But alongside the instant access came, of course, the issues. The internet was an immediate sensation. It changed the routine so much that it was detrimental, Inoke admitted. In the village, if you don't hunt, fish, and plant, you don't eat. Leaders realized they needed limits. The internet would be switched on for only 2 hours in the morning, 5 hours in the evening, and all day Sunday. During those windows, many Marubo are crouched over or reclined in hammocks on their phones. This is sad.
Kinda. And again, yeah, they do go out of their way to point out all of the positives, communicating with family members and other tribes via WhatsApp, sending alerts about medical issues, educating the tribe's children, and yeah, lots more. I mean, there's, like I said, there's good things on the internet.
Yeah, sure. This is like, I'm thinking of like Killers of the Flower Moon, like the whole like first act of that, where it's like, yeah, no, there are obviously like huge benefits to the Osage like embracing modern society, but I mean, especially in that movie, there were tremendous downsides, but even even more basic downsides of like loss of culture and whatnot.
Yeah, but in the months since the access was turned on, trends within the tribe were forming. After only 9 months with Starlink, the Marubo are already grappling with the same challenges that have racked American households for years. Teenagers glued to phones.
You always on your phone.
Wait till they get hot chip.
You got any games on that phone?
Teenagers glued to phones, group chats full of gossip, addictive social networks, online strangers, violent video games, scams, misinformation, and minors watching pornography.
Like, I feel like it's morally wrong to just like push the internet on people, especially when there's like so many ways for them to suffer abuse.
So it wasn't,
and manipulation and whatnot.
To be clear, this wasn't pushed on them. They heard about the good stuff from the millennial guy, and the tribes were like, oh, we'd like that.
If the government but this is a government project. I feel like the government has a duty to like roll this out in a way that is ethical.
Funny you should mention that because there was supposed to be internet training from the people that worked to get it out to this tribe. There was supposed to be some safety guidelines and a bit of education that goes along with what you should believe or not believe on the internet or how you should be consuming things. And apparently that just hasn't happened.
I mean, it's Brazil.
So the journalist also writes about a meeting amongst the tribe just 7 months after Starlink was turned on. As proceedings began, some leaders in the back of the audience spoke up. The internet should be turned off for the meetings, they said. I don't want people posting in the groups, taking my words out of context, another said. During the meetings, teenagers swiped through Kwai, a Chinese-owned social network. Young boys watched videos of the Brazilian soccer star Neymar Jr., and two 15-year-old girls said they chatted with strangers on Instagram.
Oh, no!
This new window to the outside world had left many in the tribe feeling torn. Some young people maintain our traditions, said Tamase Marubo, 42, the tribe's first woman leader. Others just want to spend the whole afternoon on their phones.
Kaipa Marubo, a father of 3, said he was happy that the internet was helping educate his children. But he also was concerned about the first-person shooter video games his 2 sons play. Oh, no! I'm worried that they're suddenly going to want to mimic them, he said.
They keep running around and saying, no Russian, no Russian.
They keep saying slurs to me.
Yeah. The other day, they kicked me over and started teabagging me, they call it.
God. Especially, for the youth of America can't fucking handle all the stimuli on the internet. The youth of a tribe in the Amazon.
Oh, especially like a mobile version. It's just like in most cases, it's just like a casino. Just you got so many microtransactions and bonuses and things flying off. It's pretty stimulating.
I don't like this. I'm worried that they're suddenly going to want to mimic them, he said. He tried to delete the games, but believed his sons had other hidden apps. Of course they do. Mm-hmm. Alfredo Marubo, leader of a Marubo Association of Villages, has emerged as the tribe's most vocal critic of the internet. The Marubo passed down their history and culture orally, and he worries that knowledge will be lost. Everyone is so connected that sometimes they don't even talk to their own family, he said. He is most unsettled by the pornography. He said young men were sharing explicit videos in group chats, a stunning development for a culture that frowns on kissing in public. We're worried young people are going to want to try it, he said of the graphic sex depicted in the videos. I mean, yeah. They are going to want to try it. Yeah. He said some leaders had told him they had already observed more aggressive sexual behavior from young men.
So now
we found an uncontacted tribe and we introduced them to the world via Andrew Tate. This is what happened.
Inadvertent wild social experiment.
Yeah. It is yielding interesting results.
Yeah. So now the local government and other agencies are worried that a continued rollout to other tribes could cause even more issues. And that the activist who is bringing the internet to these isolated tribes isn't doing enough to teach people about the dangers of internet access. Inoke and Ms. Dutra said they plan to provide internet training. No Marubo interviewed said that they had yet received it. In April, Ms. Renault traveled back to the forest. At Inoke's request, she bought 4 more antennas. 2 were headed to the Karubo, a tribe of less than 150 people that was first contacted in 1996 and still has some members in full isolation.
Did they ask for this?
So the tribe elders were like, oh, that stuff you're talking about in the city? Sounds awesome. We should definitely have that here. And they do make good use cases for it because that helps, convince people to bring it there because they're like, oh, in the article they talk about someone getting bitten by a snake. It's like before you had to get on the radio and coordinate this stuff. And now it is easier.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the next few years because there's similar stuff.
Interesting is certainly a word.
So there's there's a lot of organizations that are all about building wells in Africa. And in a lot of cases, the people in the town will destroy the well at the first opportunity because it just completely fucks up the entire social fabric. Before, walking the 20 miles or whatever to get the water was a central part of their day. And then you take that away and it throws everything off. And that's just a small change compared to giving the internet to tribes in the Amazon.
I would say that especially the water wells are probably a net benefit, but I have no fucking clue. Who am I to know?
It is a net benefit looking at it just totally rationally. Hey, you used to have to walk all the way to the river or the hot spring, and now you can get it here. But just instantly adding that, and also the
intentions are very good.
Without really their consent, just sort of doing it hey, we're doing this for you. It throws off the social sort of balance in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but hold on. It is important to state that we We have no fucking clue if this is actually good or bad for these tribes.
I mean,
we are only using our experience with the internet and the people who use it here as reference. Maybe this is good. But either way, Miss Dutra definitely wants us in particular to shut the fuck up about it. The criticism, she said, was part of a long tradition of outsiders telling the indigenous how to live. This is called ethnocentrism. The white man thinking they know what's best.
Okay, what about the people in your own fucking tribe who are criticizing it?
Well,
I fucking hate this shit. They're like, oh, well, you obviously, white man, you're not listening to me, the indigenous person. I'm like, but there are people in your tribe quoted in this very article saying the exact same things I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Anyways, the millennial tribe guy's dad seems a bit worried about all this, saying that the tribe's journey with the internet had been foretold. Decades ago, the most respected Marubo shaman had visions of a handheld device that could connect with the entire world. It would be for the good of the people, he said. But in the end, it wouldn't be. In the end, he added, there would be war. Oh my God. His son sat on the log across from him, listening. I think the internet will bring us much more benefit than harm, Inoki said. At least for now.
Whoa.
Regardless, he added, going back was no longer an option. The leaders have been clear, he said. We can't live without the internet. Ah! But you can! You did this whole fucking time!
It might take a while to put that genie back in the bottle, but I think you can put it back in the bottle.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, we'll just have to see how it turns out.
Yeah. Look, I am in no way involved in this. I am just observing and reading the articles, and it's like, all right, well, people seem like they are determined to let this happen, and hey, that's none of my business.
Yeah.
So,
like the fact that they weren't trained at all, and it's just like there's such a long, like, documented history of similar sort of like cultural leaps forward for isolated indigenous people and like how that worked out. There should have been way more care put into how they did this, I think.
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
Maybe a built-in firewall that stops pretty much all access except for like certain like communication apps or education. Like, I have no idea. Again, none of my fucking business.
I don't fucking know. I just feel like the way this was done was not the right way.
Yeah.
Anyway, we certainly cannot wait to see how all this turns out. I guess it's probably obvious since there's a lengthy track record of what happens when anyone gets access to the internet. It's usually not great. But again, there's of course positives.
Sure.
It's just, okay, think about like you living in the first world or the developed world, sort of growing up with the internet, sort of learning how to recognize things that are more reliable, things that are less reliable, having a certain sense of media literacy about how to use the internet.
You have almost an intuition having lived on it for
your entire life.
Yes.
And you take away all of that experience and then you feed someone the 2024 internet. Like, that seems bad.
Having never seen the news before and just showing Fox News and being like, look, this stuff's all actually happening.
Like, you could show these people fucking deep fakes and AI images and convince them of fucking anything. It's not good.
But speaking of inadvertent social experiments, nobody does a better job of ruining lives than your local police department.
Yeah.
And this week we got another great example of why that is, thanks to an unannounced demonstration at a local police department that was apparently meant to teach some young students a lesson about apparently the unreliability of witness statements or something.
Oh.
Cops orchestrated a fake shooter scenario where a masked gunman burst into the room and pretended to open fire, sending kids diving for cover.
Fucking excuse me, what?
Yeah, unplanned, unannounced.
Speaking of social experiments, my God.
Very insane. What a country. Here's local Vermont outlet 7 Days with the story. While teaching a class to high school students on Wednesday, Burlington police officers staged a surprise demonstration in which a masked gunman burst into the room and pretended to open fire. The simulation, which occurred at the Burlington police station, was meant to show the unreliability of witness statements.
I don't understand.
Yeah, but the lack of warning and the loud gunshot sounds sent students diving for cover in fear of their lives. In response, the Burlington School District apologized to parents and offered counseling services.
Were they firing blanks or did they just play like a sound? Like, how did that work?
I don't know. Maybe it was Kevin McAllister style, like they,
Just put a bunch of firecrackers in a bucket.
or just turn the audio on really loud and play a gangster movie. Either way, they believed it. And why wouldn't they? They're conditioned to expect an active shooter situation at any moment in time.
This is horrifying.
Yeah.
You're going to give someone a fucking heart attack. So yeah, whoops, our bad. Did we traumatize you by acting out something that you're already just terrified and constantly nervous about on a daily basis? Our bad. Big oopsie on our part.
We're sorry.
It continues. Students and parents who spoke with 7 Days expressed shock and outrage, saying the demonstration played on the fears of students who had grown up amid a nationwide increase in violence at schools. I'm baffled, said one mother who asked to remain anonymous to protect her daughter's identity. It is a very real threat to kids these days to have a school shooting. It's something they worry about. The incident unfolded during a forensics class offered through Burlington High School's annual year-end studies program. The roughly 20 students in attendance were told they would tour the police department and see a presentation on how detectives solve crimes. 2 students who spoke on the condition of anonymity said that the class was facing the front of the room listening to a detective speak when they heard screams from behind them. 2 women ran in, the students said, followed by a man wearing a ski mask who was holding a gun. Then gunshot sounds rang out. One of the students said she dove on the floor, scraping her knee. The other said she scrambled to find her phone so that she could text her mother. I'm shaking and crying because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get shot, she said. It felt so real. The students said they weren't told about the demonstration ahead of time. They realized it was fake only after noticing that the cops in the room had done nothing to stop the pretend shooter, they said, and were probably giggling a little bit to themselves.
Counterpoint, cops tend to not do anything during a school shooting anyway.
That's nothing unusual about...
Why aren't you helping us? Sorry, my hands are tied.
Yeah.
Gotta wait for the chief to show up and tell me what to do. Yeah. Oh my God. Could you, and think about it, if you're a parent who is getting a text from your child that there's a fucking shooter, a live shooter going through, and you might have a heart attack.
Yeah. You're gonna be so stressed out, you're gonna be like, I'm baby. And then that screenshot's gonna get put on the internet and people are gonna be like, I'm baby. Even though you meant to type, I'm right here, baby. But you were so stressed out, you typed, I'm baby. Okay. And now it's a fucking meme. Everyone's like, I'm baby.
Just the idea of this police department being like, hey, we got some kids from the local high school coming over here. They want to learn about like forensics and stuff like that. You know what would be kind of cool? Like, what? Who thought of that?
This is a great idea. We're definitely going to do this.
And people are going to be like, wow. Wow, we all learned something today.
That was a very smart move you guys did down at the police department. Okay, anyway, how about some good news? Please, God, help us get away from those last 2 stories. Well, folks, they got him.
Yep.
Steve Bannon has officially had his bail revoked and has been ordered to start serving time behind bars by July 1st. And so it's hard to keep track of all the criminals in Trump's orbit, but this sentence stems from his contempt of Congress conviction, which he got from refusing to comply with a subpoena related to the January 6th insurrection on the U.S. Capitol. As always, we're not holding our breath, but it will be very satisfying to actually see Steve Bannon locked up after all the damage he's done and continues to do to this country. Maybe a nice mugshot. With more on this latest development, here's CNBC.
A federal judge in Washington, D.C., at a hearing Thursday, ordered former Trump White House aide Steve Bannon to report to jail by July 1st to begin serving a 4-month sentence for his criminal contempt of Congress conviction.
The order by Judge Carl Nichols came 3 weeks after federal prosecutors urged him to lift a stay on Bannon's sentence pending an appeal of his conviction for failing to comply with a subpoena from the House committee investigating the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. A federal appeals court panel in a unanimous ruling on May 10th upheld Bannon's conviction in the case. Outside of court, Bannon's lawyer David Schoen told reporters, "The decision has it wrong, factually, in many, many ways. It's a horrible decision." He said Bannon's appeal needs to be taken by the Supreme Court. Schoen has argued that Bannon was not guilty of contempt because Bannon's lawyer at the time had advised him not to comply with the House's subpoena. Okay.
The best people.
Bannon told reporters Thursday, "I've got great lawyers, and we're going to go all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to. There's nothing that can shut me up, and nothing that will shut me up." He said, "There's not a prison built or a jail built that will ever shut me up."
I mean, he's kind of asking for it.
They add that it is possible that Bannon's jail sentence could be stayed by an order of the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia or by the U.S. Supreme Court. But Bannon's hopes of winning a stay of his sentence or a reversal of his conviction at either of those courts is, legally speaking, a bit of a long shot.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of crimes, content creators are back in the news again. And gotta go back to the sad side of the internet for a second. We're gonna get the upsetting story out of the way first, because a Russian Twitch streamer has apparently been thrown in jail for more than 5 years after she was critical of her country's invasion of Ukraine while broadcasting on the live streaming website. And not just that, she also, I would say very bravely, broadcast first-hand accounts of potential war crimes being conducted by the Russian army. And now she's being thrown in prison for what the Russians are claiming is spreading false information. Now, here's PC Gamer with more on this, and we're going to be honest here. 5 or more years in a Russian prison, probably hell on earth.
Yeah.
Might actually be in there for a lot longer than that. If I had to guess, I would say this punishment does not fit the crime.
No.
Yeah, here's PC Gamer.
Russian streamer Anna Bajutova, known on Twitch as Yoko Bovich, has been sentenced to 5.5 years in prison for live streaming witness accounts of alleged atrocities committed by the Russian army during its occupation of the Ukrainian city of Bucha. French news agency AFP, via the Moscow Times, says Bajutova was found guilty of spreading false information about the Russian army on her Twitch channel. The live broadcast originally occurred in June 2023, according to the report, although other sources, including Radio Free Europe, say the incident took place in 2022. And included witness accounts of massacres carried out by Russian forces. At some point after Bajutova's stream, Russian bloggers supporting the war filed complaints with police, shortly after which her home was searched and her electronic devices confiscated.
She was later arrested and has reportedly been held in pretrial detention since August 2023. Bajutova's Twitch channel was banned in March 2023 for violating the platform's terms of service, although the specifics of the violation are unknown, as Twitch doesn't publicly share details relating to channel bans. Russia outlawed discrediting or spreading false information about its military in 2022, shortly after launching its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. In 2023, it expanded that legislation to encompass virtually any group fighting for Russia, including mercenary units like the Wagner Group. The Moscow Times noted in a separate report that the crackdown has led to the silencing of nearly all anti-war statements and news that clashes with the Kremlin's narrative of the war. And boy, if I don't see the future laid out ahead of me.
The gears are turning in Trump's head.
Trump is absolutely going to do this shit if he is ever reelected. So enjoy our show while you can, folks.
Yeah.
Going to be on the chopping block.
And yeah, that WNBA, was it Brittany Griner who got arrested over there? Yeah, I was listening to an interview with her, and like, she was describing being in Russian prison. It did not sound great. It sounded like a real bad time. She said the biggest thing was just like, it's fucking freezing. You're just cold all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, now for she also said the water is just like absolutely like toxic.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, like it's like brown. That's all you're drinking. Like even if you make it out alive, like your health for the rest of your life is probably not going to be so great.
Yeah, luckily she's an athlete who has access to the best medical staff and trainers. So, hey, there's another social experiment. Can you bounce back from a Russian prison? One athlete is going to find out.
Yeah. Okay, but now for a content creator who actually kind of had it coming. A YouTuber named Alex Choi is now facing federal charges after, get this, shooting fireworks at a Lamborghini from a helicopter. I mean,
pretty cool.
And they say creativity is dead.
Well, it's alive and well on rich people YouTube.
So apparently this might have been legal, or at the very least the government wouldn't have been so aggressive with filing charges, if not for the fact that Choi decided to film this fun little escapade on federal land. Oh, whoopsie.
Yeah.
Turns out you can't just drive out to a random spot in the middle of nowhere and open fire on a car that is driving on federal land from a helicopter that is flying in restricted airspace.
Yeah.
I thought this was America. But this definitely fits the standard. YouTuber does illegal thing, claims ignorance, gets a slap on the wrist. Though this time it might, keyword might, not just be a little slap on the wrist. And he's actually facing some serious jail time. Here's the LA Times.
An influencer from the San Fernando Valley, beautiful San Fernando Valley, was charged with a federal crime Thursday in connection with a YouTube video of 2 women shooting fireworks at a Lamborghini from a helicopter, the Justice Department announced. Sukmin Choi, 24, also known as Alex Choi of Studio City, was indicted on one count of causing the placement of an explosive or incendiary device on an aircraft in connection with a video titled "Destroying a Lamborghini with Fireworks," according to a department news release. Choi was arrested Wednesday and faces up to 10 years in prison if convicted. According to Choi's arrest affidavit, on July 4th, 2023, Choi posted a YouTube video showing himself pressing a fire missiles button with two women flying in a helicopter over El Mirage dry lake bed, causing fireworks to shoot at a Lamborghini sports car on the ground.
It continues. Officials believe that Choi allegedly committed the crime in June 2023 and didn't have a permit to film a scene using fireworks on a helicopter. He allegedly bought the fireworks in Nevada because they were illegal in California.
There you go, yeah.
And in their coverage, the Daily Beast adds that the stunt was at least partially carried out on federal land, adding that it pissed off the following organizations: the FAA, the Department of Transportation Inspector General's Office, the Bureau of Land Management, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. So,
quite a melting pot of agencies to piss off.
A lot of federal agencies you got mad at you there, son. Way to go.
Mm-hmm. All right, and once again, we have to go back to a story that we have been covering for days now because everything keeps changing. We now have to temporarily revoke our apology.
Your apology. I refuse to apologize.
You were right to do so.
Yeah.
Until the latest news gets refuted as well, and then the apology's back on.
I will never apologize for delivering the news.
I'm going to reinstate my apology before I eventually just give up, because what's the fucking point anymore? That guy who drove on a suspended license while calling into court via Zoom, well, it turns out that his license wasn't suspended after all.
Aha.
But then it turned out that he apparently has never had a license.
Well, that's interesting.
Which, okay, can't suspend a license if it doesn't exist, so checkmate.
Yeah, you're free to go, sir.
Anyways, with more on this never-ending drama, here's the Atlanta Black Star.
The case of a Michigan man caught driving with a suspended license during a virtual court hearing continues to unfold with new developments, the latest of which revealed that he has never once owned a driver's license. Corey Harris became an internet meme overnight for dialing into a Zoom court call from behind the wheel without a license. He spent 2 days in jail for the blunder. In an interview with WXYZ TV, 44-year-old Harris stated that he had no idea his license was still suspended during that now viral May 15th court hearing. But the judge overseeing the case dropped the bombshell in a Wednesday court hearing. Harris has actually never owned a license.
He has never had a license, ever, and has never had a license in any of the other 49 states or commonwealths that make up this country, Washtenaw County District Court Judge J. Cedric Simpson said. The way I know that he's never had a license is because on May 3rd, 1999, he was 19 at the time, he applied for his first Michigan ID. He has religiously, every year, gotten a new ID. And so he knows that he doesn't have a license.
Interesting.
Harris's attorney, Dion Webster Cox, who accompanied Harris for his WXYZ interview, said she was stunned when Simpson revealed that her client never owned a license. Quote, "I hadn't done any research to go back. I didn't go back to 1999 to see about this Michigan state ID. All that was shocking to me. Absolutely shocking," Webster Cox said. State law dictates that Michigan residents cannot own both a state ID and a license. There was no error by anybody. It was a failure on the part of Mr. Harris to do certain things, Judge Simpson said.
I mean, if he's made it this far...
he's obviously pretty good at operating a motor vehicle.
Yeah, I mean, it is strange that he's just simply never applied for a driver's license. I kind of get it, though. I had to renew my license this year.
Who wants to go to the DMV?
And I didn't realize this. I was unprepared. But I guess every 20 years, you do have to retake the test.
Ooh.
And so I was like, how hard could it be? Immediately failed the first time.
Wow.
It's all on like a little computer or touch screen. And once you get a certain number of wrong answers, they're like, all right, you're done. You get 3 chances.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, well, you can try again today or come back some other time. And I'm like, fuck, I'm already here. Let's just go again. I think I can get it. And I'm just like, I think I was 1 wrong answer short of failing. I like barely passed. And I was like, oh God. The questions are hard. They're written in a very confusing way.
Well, intentionally, yeah. I had to retake it about 5 years ago because I had to go get like the motorcycle thing added to mine, so I could drive a motorcycle. So I had to do both again. And then I do remember, because of that story, how I almost failed my first driving test. This is obviously well before backup cameras existed.
Yeah.
And I got confused at one point because they're like, all right, now do your backup. And I got confused at that point because I'm like, I know I should put my arm around and look back. But then I was like, I felt weird doing it. So I just stared directly into the thing and just started going backwards really fast. He's like, whoa, what are you doing?
Can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do it. No. Anyways, I am perfectly legal to drive, I might add. And this whole mistaken license thing, it's still, very confusing to me. So let's just never speak of it again.
Yeah, hopefully this is the last we hear of
I'm
any
sorry
of this.
for covering it in the first place.
I am not sorry. I am never sorry to cover the news. It's my job, damn it.
And finally today, if you remember, my buddy Stanley did a full-length version of his Mosh, coming out of Mosh retirement series that he did on TikTok. He did a very long, a short film version of it called MOSHUMENTARY. And I remember, if you remember, we promoted it here and said, hey, look, he's fundraising, go do it. Thank you to anyone who did. But it is now available for free to everyone on YouTube. So we'll do a little clip right here.
Your open enrollment period actually ended yesterday, so they just hung up. They didn't take that well. Yeah, so I work in HR for a tech company, or I guess people ops is what they call it now. Freaking woke bullshit. So all day I'm just talking to like posers and losers, like, oh, my pay was wrong, and oh, I didn't sign up for health insurance, or oh, people keep punching me in the face multiple times this week at work. Like, shut the hell up. You're lucky it wasn't my ass. You'd be dead.
And there you go. If you want to watch the full thing, the link is below. Oh, and I meant to put this Trump clip in. Go watch the MOSHUMENTARY. I meant to put this Trump clip in, but it is so gross. I got to throw it in. Did you see the clip of him where he's like foaming from the mouth?
What? No.
Yeah. And this is like, they could have clearly reshot this.
Ugh.
It's disgusting. Take a look.
And we will take back our country on November 5th, 2024. On November 5th, 2024. 2024.
All right, now the episode is over, okay? Now, some videos are going to pop up, but first, please click the like button. Go watch Stanley's MOSHUMENTARY, but first, before you leave our video, click the like button.
Come on.
If you're feeling frisky, click that join button or the thank button, but really just the like button, and make sure you're subscribed so we can hit our sub goal. Ding, ding, ding. And then now you can watch the other videos. They are up here. We have a very recent episode of Tech News Day, as well as a video from earlier in the week. Please go watch those. Stay tuned for Weekly Weird News, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.